Good evening. Thank you for joining us on Graps TV and the Sicko Show. I'm your host, the Matty Man. What a day, glorious day that has been. Welcome to your All In review here. Wow. I don't even know where to really start with this because we all know above and beyond everything that Tony Khan, if Tony Khan does absolutely nothing in anybody's eyes correctly, no one says he puts on a bad pay per view. And today, tonight, this afternoon, this evening was no exception. From the All In 0 hour all the way up to the beginning of the pay per view, and I think the way they teased it coming in to try to sell some more buys, with the beginning of the London ladder match, top to bottom, mostly mostly I'm 90% there to say this was the top pay-per-view of the month or the year. And whew, boy, that bash at Berlin with them 5 matches coming next week's going to be real interesting. And hey, it is what it is. WWE's going to go ahead with doing what they're doing, and I wish them the best, man. I wish them the best. Those matches do look pretty decent. I'm not going to lie about it. There's only 5 of them, and maybe six. Maybe six. I could be off a little bit, but you never know. You never know. You never know. But this is probably not going to be a long one tonight because I've already sat in on a couple of reviews just to see where I stack up. I don't stack up yet, but I'm working on it. Oh, Tony. One thing I would like to mention here is because right before All In kicks off, we get the return of Jamie Hayter. And in the midst of all that, the overlooked part of the whole thing, for most people except me, maybe, was the Riho appearance in the All In 0 hour part here. Tony, seriously, dude, in all seriousness, before you leave London, at least throw some figures at her. Seriously, I'm not even playing. Now, you remember the Stephanie McCourt scenario from Forbidden Door, which, was strangely enough the last pay per view. I would not let Riho out of the building without some indication of a contract. Just saw her there, totally stoked for the segment with Saraya and Harley Cameron. I there's just something about it that just makes me want to scream this and post it like every hour on the hour for the next 24 hours. Please, Tony, do not leave London without having a business conversation with Riho. Please don't. WWE's already given her a tryout, and, she's just biding her options, which tells me she's kind of waiting to see what you are going to do. Don't let us down on this one, man. Riho's good talent, great talent. But anyway, we were dealing with All In, and, this is, I got to say, in all honesty, it's the first pay per view I've really looked forward to since Forbidden Door because I already get the WWE stuff without a question. It already shows up. I have Peacock, it's there. Even if I didn't like WWE, there's some stuff on Peacock that I followed, the Chicago series, things like that. So it would already be there. So I'm not exactly as hyped for Bash at Berlin as I was for All In because I kind of had a feeling, with the exception of a couple of matches, we're going to get into that here just a little bit later. Once again, not going to be a long stream because everybody and their nephew's doing All In review right now. And I just wanted to get mine out there, get it saved, get it laid out, and everything like that. And we're going to go from there. The reality of it is, Jamie Hayter actually blew the roof off before All In kicked off. Then we kicked off with the London ladder match. Reasonable. I'm not going to cover in detail too much because there's just way too much going on there. And quite frankly, with everything else going on in there, there's a couple of matches I really want to spend some time on. The London ladder match, I was not terribly impressed with how Christian Cage worked. Now, everybody was saying, but his character work was really good, which I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Christian Cage can do character work all day long. I just was not impressed with his ring work. But if I had known what was going on, I would have given him a little bit more of a pass. So I'm going to give him a pass on this, just simply because later on the show we figure out he shows up again. And if you're working two matches, I mean, my God, son, that's good work. That's good work. Christian Cage showed up, showed out. Now, like I said, his ring work wasn't that great, but his character work was totally awesome in this London ladder match. The star of this match here obviously was Pac, local guy. And, they really played up the fact that he didn't get his Wembley moment last year and that this year was going to be his Wembley moment. And quite frankly, between him and the Guns, who deserve a huge shout out for this match, they worked their asses in the ground on this match. Everything they did was spot on, made sense, worked with the storyline, the whole 9 yards, looked really, really good. Pac, though, savior of the day with that 2,000-foot ladder and slipping the titles down. So I guess this is the new Blackpool Combat Club, maybe. I don't know. I mean, we're not seeing Mox right now, but we are seeing Pac. And who's to say that Mox won't be back next week or next month or something to that effect? We'll even have a stronger Blackpool Combat Club. But yeah, Willer Yuta, Claudio Castagnoli, and Pac take down the Patriarchy and the House of Black and the Guns to capture the AEW Trios title in a match that was, at least 3.5, 4 stars, because the work in there was pretty good. And there was some dirty work in there, but there's always going to be that when you got like 12 people in the ring as opposed to 2 to 4 to 6. When you got 12 people in the ring, that match came off really good considering how many people were actually in that match. But yeah, they picked up the win. Overall, great moment for Pac. Very happy for Pac. Glad Pac goes over, and this really builds more into the All Out thing now because he's getting ready to have to wrestle Will Ospreay for the international title at All Out. So that's going to be kind of an interesting match there by itself. But yeah, they pick up the win. Reasonable match, not too long, not too short, blah, blah, blah. But I did want to spend some more time. The reason I get through some of these matches is there's like 2 or 3 of them that just really caught my fancy to talk about. And not the least of which, in what I consider to be the feud of the year, and I don't care what the WWE drones say, it's difficult to sell pimping. So I'm not really that crazy about the WWE women's storyline going on right now. It's just not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like watching Rhea Ripley get over the way she's getting over, especially on social media. But as far as the overall feud itself, it just feels flat. So when we see Mariah May and Toni Storm add another layer to this onion that we call the Women's World Title in AEW, it is always a treat. It was a really brutal match, and of all people, Mariah was the one that wound up bleeding early and often, so to speak. But at the end of the match there, she genuinely came up with a good, clean win over Toni Storm. A lot of back and forth on this, a lot of teases, couple of fake finishes. You can't beat it at all. But the story just got deeper and deeper as the match went on. I mean, she slapped her mom, for goodness sakes. And we had Luther back and so on and so forth. And, Overall, I think Mariah May came out of this thing looking like $1 billion, and Tony Storm, for all the work she's put into this feud, kudos, flowers. You're getting your own show as well. I got a list of people for my flower shop. You're getting to show yourself because this is absolute cinema. Now, for all the crap that you hear on the other side of the fence, that, oh, this is cinema. This was actually cinema. The slapping your mom thing, the building up, so on and so forth. The Mina Shirakawa, like, who's she cheering for? It was really, really hitting on all cylinders. Mariah worked a damn near perfect match. And Tony Storm did what Tony Storm always does. Tony Storm has improved leaps and bounds and decades. So that just goes to show you that when a door closes, that's going to be the theme of the night here. When the WWE door closes, better things come along. Tony Storm looked in that ring on this night as good, if not better, than anything that The Rock and Cody and them have done, anything that Roman's done. This match was not a mini cheat code. This thing was a full-on cheat code. This feud was a full-on cheat code. Not even a question in my mind. Never going to be a question in my mind, ever. But Mariah May picks up the win. And trust me, that was a chef's kiss with a cherry on top for a feud that has had me captivated for several months. And will probably continue because we haven't even gotten the unhinged Tony Storm out of this yet. I really can't wait to see what comes out at All Out because I'm wondering if we get the unhinged and so on and so forth, and whether or not they run this thing back again because this was a masterpiece. I mean, people say cinema, I say art. It was beautiful. This thing was a Da Vinci or a Van Gogh all day long, twice on Sunday. Beautiful work. Beautiful, beautiful work. Gorgeous work. Then after that, we had the FTW Championship with Hook versus the Learning Tree. I'm going to escape most of this match here. This was not one of the matches that I was that invested in to begin with, and with all the extra main roster, just the main roster goofness, the match didn't do much for me. It's not saying that Hook didn't work a good match. Chris went into business for himself last week, and he hasn't gotten out of business for himself yet. And Chris, sir, you are great. You are a Hall of Famer. You are not on the same level as 25-year-old men anymore. I'm not either. So, you know what? When I say that with all due respect because, quite frankly, I'm not. And very few people I know of my age are on the same level with that. For me, I'm glad that Hook won the match. I'm kind of glad that Dad got involved there. You know, Taz, the double sleeper worked for me. It worked. But the rest of the match was just garbage for me, and it just didn't work out too well. It wasn't a bad match. I'm not saying it was bad. I don't want to say like the match was absolutely horrible. It had its moments. Big Bill had his moments too. Big Bill is still over in London. So, Tony, that might be something useful for going back to London next year, Forbidden Door. You might want to think about throwing old Big Bill up in some of the ranks there so you can get some ROI out of it. Because it seemed to me like the fans were dying to cheer for him. So I don't see a problem with throwing him in a mid-card match or something like that. Put a little gold in there. If they're going to pop for him like that all the time, make money off of it, man. Come on, Tony. We know you can. But, yeah, following that one right there, we had the Casino Gauntlet match with Orange Cassidy starting off at the beginning. There was way too much in this. The return of Nigel McGuinness was really, really good. Zack Sabre showed up, showed out. Good Lord. And to be honest with you, he was the guy I was pulling for the entire match. As soon as I saw him, I'm like, dude just won the G1. How beautiful would it be to come to All In and win a guaranteed title shot at All In? It's the same thing. It's like a mini G1. We just do it all in 20 minutes or less. Ricochet. Sir. Ricochet. Beautiful work, my man. Beautiful work, my man. And Samantha, shout out to you and big ass kudos to you for shouting out for your man even when he's playing on the other team. I'm just like, man, that was just beautiful right there. That's love. At least as good, as close to what you're going to get to modern day love. She didn't care. It ain't like they going to fire you, beloved. Nah, no, not with them pipes you got. They're not going to fire you. So shout out to, Samantha for just laying down on doubling down on Twitter, supporting her man. Shout out to Ricochet. Ricochet, thank you for going out there and showing people who the fuck you are. That's probably going to be one of my very few cuss words from this stream. But thank you for showing them who you are. And I'm looking forward to Ricochet and Will Ospreay. Not going to lie. Looking forward to Ricochet and Pac. Looking forward to Ricochet and Claudio. Looking forward to Ricochet and freaking Bryan Danielson. Looking forward to Ricochet in a whole lot of matches at AEW. Good shout out. Perfect moment to introduce you and slide you in. And the people there got to see you work on AEW's side, which is 100 times better than the way we watched you work on WWE's side. Speed title notwithstanding, they misused and abused Ricochet for so long. And that smile that he had on his face, he's like, yeah, this is my spot. That's where you belong, sir. That's where you always belong. Shout out to Ricochet for showing up. Anyway, during the course of the match, then we find out why Christian Cage was working such a bum-ass run with the Trios title, because he was also scheduled to be in the Gauntlet match. He limps his way down, does the Christian Cage thing, and near the end of the match, he sneaks in for the win. Christian Cage has a guaranteed AEW World title shot. I could have thought of 5 other people to put that on. And everybody's like, no, I have a theory. Okay, you can have a theory all you want. Ricochet could have used it right out of the gate. That would have been hot. I would have done that personally. Zack Sabre. Boy, you want to talk about a hellacious January? Don't even get me started. So, I can think of those two off the top of my head. And the one that nobody's talking about yet, and I've already seen like 2 streams, and I've seen a whole lot of comments on this today. Okada worked his ass off in this thing. The only loser out of this thing, in my estimation, besides the fans when they had to watch Orange Cassidy, was the fact that Okada failed to win the tournament. And he's billed as the best tournament wrestler. So this one should have been right up his alley. Didn't quite work out. Okada didn't pull it out. We got Christian Cage with the guaranteed title shot, contract in hand, and just acting like, might as well say he won the lottery. Now, the problem is not Christian Cage. The problem is we had Christian Cage last month or the month before. He's already had a title shot in the last few pay-per-views I've watched. I don't watch a lot of AEW pay-per-views. I think I'm getting ready to go to my 5th one after this. So I've not seen a lot of them, but he's been in a title match on every single one. And I know for a fact he had the world title match 2 shots ago or last shot. I get them confused a little bit because they're all so good. It doesn't matter, but he's had a title shot. If he's going to exercise this contract, I'd like to see him exercise it closer to the end of the year. maybe let Bryan Danielson work some other people before he retires from in-ring competition full time. Because let's just go ahead and break this thing down. That Bryan Danielson that showed up, and I'll get to this really at the end of this show. That Bryan Danielson that showed up today is the Bryan Danielson that I remember from so long ago. So with that said, I mean, I would like to see more of that. I would like to see more of Bryan Danielson working his shows the way he wants to. And if we're going to have a Christian Cage match, let's at least have it close to the end of the year. Let's not just jump right into this thing. Give him at least one title match. Let him do one defense at least. We know he's got to have neck surgery. He's telling the truth. He's got to have neck surgery. So if you're counting that part of it right there, everybody's like, oh, well, it's only going to be like quick. It's going to be quick, like a month, 2 months, whatever. No, it needs to be at least 2 or 3 months. And I think Christian needs to just kind of wait his turn to the end of the year. Since we've already seen him with Swerve, I'm not interested in seeing him with Bryan Danielson because there are too many other people that I think Bryan Danielson can have a match with. They could tear a house down and sell a pay-per-view out, and Christian Cage ain't one of them. That's just me. But then moving on after that, we had the AEW American Championship match, which is really the international title match, between MJF and Will Ospreay. And this was an absolute 180 from their last Iron Man match. The one that went 59 minutes and 59 seconds. This was an absolute reverse of that. The pyro was on. The fans were on, and Will Ospreay was just flat ass on this one. I didn't see a whole lot of what everybody accuses him of being in the flippy shit and all that. He actually got out there and worked a solid match. He worked from the bottom up, the top to the bottom to the top. And what that means is, I mean, he started off on fire, then got himself down, got himself back in the match, pulled the crowd in with him, including me. Took us all on this beautiful ride that ended up with him being the champion with the Tiger Driver 91. And MJF obviously was not injured. Of course, you can't hurt a blockhead. So, I mean, it's not really, it was probably the right time to use it. I'd like to see him use it again going forward as more than just a, wow, this is the last bullet I got in the chamber type scenario. I'd like to see him pull more stylish off like that. I'd like to see him pull more of the dangerous stuff off with a whole lot less empathy, so to speak. I'd like to see him lose that whole empathy thing and just start doing what got him there and what got him to be the greatest in the world. Apparently under Bryan Danielson, but that's neither here nor there. That's opinion at that point. But amazingly enough, Will Ospreay pulled off the win, beats MJF, and, Wembley moment. Was very, very excited about that. On a side note there, MJF, brother, don't wear those tights anymore. Because I agree with everybody else. It looked like your package was getting ready to fall out at any given time. They didn't fit you. Don't do that ever again. Because you could create moments that require therapy, and some of us just can't afford therapy and pay-per-views at the same time. So let's try not to do that one again, okay, player? And then after that match there, we had the coffin match between Darby Allin and Jack Perry. And to be honest with you, I thought this was going to be the match of the night for me. We were gambling on how quickly they were going to steal the show because, for lack of a better term, and Tony, this is how you lean into stuff. These two are AEW's total top tier spot monkeys. For lack of a better way to say it, they are top tier spot monkeys. We know they're spot monkeys. So whenever the two of them get together in a match, even if it was, back at Double or Nothing or at Blood and Guts or so on and so forth, when these two run into each other, something spectacular is going to happen because they're going to try to one-up each other on their spots. And that's what we were really looking for here. But unfortunately, I think the Jericho match ate a little bit into their time. We wound up getting a shorter match. Jack Perry becomes the first to defeat Darby Allin in a coffin match, and then they're getting ready to set that thing on fire, and guess who we get? We get Sting. Mr. Sting, sir, great segment, showed out great, cleared all the heels out, and got yet another Wembley moment. So we're wondering here back and forth as to whether or not. Now, I've seen a lot of the chats saying that I wonder if that's going to be a thing where he shows up at every All In. I sure as hell hope it is. Because it was the right moment, the right time, the right spot, and he brought the right candor back. Because the match was just too short. I would have liked to have seen it gone longer because I think we could have gotten a whole lot more holy shit moments out of it. And in that aspect of it, it just didn't really deliver for me. And it's not to say it was a bad match, because it wasn't a bad match. It just did not deliver for me. In the same way that Will Ospreay delivered. In the same way that Mariah May delivered. See, those two did deliver for me. And I wasn't really as invested in Mariah May as I thought I was. As I had thought I was going to be. Now let me explain that. I was more invested as this match went on than I thought I was going to be. To where near the end of it, it was just like, we got there. And it was beautiful. Same thing with certain parts of the coffin match. Same thing with Ospreay. Those three really delivered to me, and Bryan Danielson delivered to me later on. We're getting ready to get to that here in just a minute. Like I said, it's going to be a short review tonight because everybody's done an all-in review. And how many other ways can you look at a match than what it is? So, and some of the best, in my eyes, have reviewed it already. And I'm going to watch a few to see what other people come up with. But the coffin match should have gotten more time. And honest to God, the Jericho match probably should have been on the All In 0 hour. Just fit that in there somewhere. That would have been nice. I'm just saying. Because we needed more time to pull that match together. Sting saves it at the end with an appearance. And shout out to Jack Perry for this match. Jack Perry actually showed up, showed out, and showed a whole lot more of why we like Jack Perry more than we think we like Jack Perry. And I think I skipped over a couple of matches. I'm going to have to jump back and catch those. Yeah, I did. I skipped one. I skipped two matches, actually. So I'm going to have to go back and get those. FTR, the Acclaimed, and the Young Bucks went at it for the tag team titles. The Young Bucks win. FTR showed up really good. The Acclaimed, they got the kind of pop I figured they were going to get. I think Tony needs to revisit the Acclaim, split them up, and let them go out and wrestle individual matches and get Billy Gunn back over with the Guns, because the Guns are really working their ass off, and they would benefit more from Billy Gunn's advice than the Acclaimed would. But yeah, I mean the match was okay. The Young Bucks went in there and worked their ass off. I thought FTR phoned in a little bit of it. The Acclaimed were horrible, so FTR saved that match. They win, or not FTR, but the Young Bucks saved that match, and they went at it, and they came out still as your World Tag Team Champions. We got an introduction, and I cannot remember the name of the tag team because I've only seen them once in AEW. If anybody knows, throw it in the comments. I apologize. Next time I'll try to pull the name out and just write it down. That way I don't forget it. Yeah, I mean, it was a reasonable moment. Then we had this dog-ass match where Mercedes Moné got in there and worked her ass in the ground and carried Dr. Britt Baker. And it brought tears of joy to my soul to look at Twitter during this match going, I don't remember Baker being this bad. That brought tears of joy to my soul. And that's kind of why I danced around the match a little bit. Mercedes Moné won. Mercedes Moné carried Dr. Britt Baker like she was in a wheelbarrow, and they were racing to the finish line most of the time. Britt was not very good in this match, and I think the reason they did the slow-mo was just to show you how bad she was on that segment. Mercedes Moné had to like overcompensate to make a move work. Then they put it in slow motion just so you could see how Mercedes had to overcompensate to pull that move off and get it going. Britt was pouting and whining through the whole thing, definitely not face work, and it was just in her body language. She sandbagged the crap out of this match, which is why I was really avoiding it, but it does give me a wonderful contrast because now that I've got those two matches caught up, I'm right here live for the main event, and Swerve Strickland and Bryan Danielson decided they were just going to go out there and have the match of the year, if not the match of at least the last 5 years. Now, I know Will Ospreay's got some candidates in there, and I know the WWE fan base desperately wants that Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles, and Leon France to be one, but that match was not even on this level. I mean, there are levels to this. There are levels of storytelling that happen in the ring. There are levels on promos, and there are levels of actual wrestling. And this was a full-on cheat code and an absolute joy. I busted out in tears when I saw Bryan Danielson pull that win off because I didn't know, man. I thought to myself, man, they're getting ready to retire Bryan on this one. And they got his whole family here. This is retirement getting ready to happen here. So when Bryan pulls this match out, I'm literally in tears and just standing up in my own living room clapping. And a buddy of mine that does podcasts said, when we were at the watch party when the pay-per-view went off, the entire room stood up and clapped for this match. And I can believe that. This match was a cheat code start to finish. Swerve Strickland did some of the best business. Now, side rant here, because I don't want to take anything away from the match. Side rant here, this is another spot where WWE completely dropped the ball. Let him get out. He went out and bet on himself, and that's where we got Swerve Strickland. And this Swerve Strickland here was better than the last Swerve Strickland. The thing about Swerve that makes him so impressive to me is every match he peels one layer back from that onion, just one. He doesn't give it all out. Some of these people, they give you their whole damn life story before a match. It's not even a top 4 plea. You know who I'm talking about. And by the time the match gets here, you're like, fuck, I don't even really want to see this. But then, you're already there, so you watch the match. Swerve gives us one slice of onion at a time. One layer of onion at a time. And for all this crap about the bloodline not really being into inning 3, I don't think Swerve Strickland's done with the first inning. I think we got plenty more to see out of him. I would love to do this match justice with words, but I cannot. So the main thing that I would happily say at this point is just go watch the match. Even if you've already seen it, go back and watch it again. This match was top shelf. This match was 30-year-old Scotch. This match was everything that I knew it could be, and some. I don't know exactly what Bryan Danielson's run's going to look like, and I don't think anybody does. Bryan, when pressed about it, because they're still trying to get him to say he's going to be around next year. Guys, he's getting ready to have surgery. This is going to be a short run. So I don't know what Bryan Danielson's run looks like. I'm just happy to be here for it. And by the way, Bryan Danielson becomes the maybe second wrestler to hold all the major world titles in all of the majors. WWE, AEW, New Japan, I think even TNA, so on and so forth. To hold all the major titles everywhere. Congratulations, Brian Danielson. And I know you're probably going to hear this about 300 times before the end of the week. And Swerve, I know you're going to hear this at least 300 times before the end of the week because I basically know about 300 people that are going to tell you, plus myself. If y'all keep wrestling at that level consistently, there is not a single person on either roster of a WWE show that can go toe to toe with either one of these. Not in storyline, not on the mic, and for damn sure not in the ring. That will never happen. Oh, but Roman, fuck Roman. Oh, but fuck Cody. There is not a pair of athletes doing it right now in mainstream wrestling. Now, I'm not. New Japan got some stuff going on. CMLL's got some stuff going on, but it still doesn't come to this level. It's not near this level. There are levels to this, and we saw at least a new level out of Swerve tonight. Same thing with Prince Nana. Very happy. The big bill for this, the big bill for this, for me, for this match here, was not too long ago Prince Nana was working ROH and managing and so on and so forth. And not too long ago Swerve Strickland was removed from the WWE roster. Last year they got a taste of All In. This year they main evented. Same thing with Brian Danielson. I don't have words for the match except for to go watch the match. And if you do that, I guarantee you, if you come back to me and tell me you're disappointed after watching this match, your reason is broken. That's all there is to it. But yeah, it's running a little bit late tonight here. It's after 10 o'clock here on the Eastern Seaboard. And yeah, we're at the end of this thing right here. We are looking forward to All Out in 2 weeks. I will definitely be covering that as well. And as soon as I get my blue check mark back for Twitter, I made the god-awful mistake of changing my handle because it needed to match the show. And they took my blue check mark until they review it. They say it'll be back within 5 days. So, excuse me, we'll probably be going live on Twitter that night whenever it happens. But for now, I'd like to thank you for hanging out for the review. Hey, I had a viewer tonight. That's awesome. And, you know, just keep on coming back. It's only going to get better from here. And thank you for your time and patience. And good night, America, wherever you are.